Members of the company, this is your places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher, and no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number.
And we are Charnopher. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Sharna, how are you this morning?
You know, I'm good. We just talked about not having morning voice on here,
Yeah,
so
that's
now
true.
I'm like super aware of my morning voice, but I'm doing good. I woke up this morning and
Good.
thought it was a different day. I thought it was a different day than it was. You know how that like wigs you out?
Yes,
But other than that, I'm
you're
good.
like,
How are
ah,
you, Christopher?
I'm good. I've had that experience, and it's so interesting because sometimes I wake up and I don't know what day it is, or I think I've missed something, or I'm late, or I wake up and it's like 7:30 and I think it's Sunday and I was supposed to leave an hour ago. So
And you're like,
like,
ah!
yep.
Yeah.
And then it takes me about a good literal
Today
2 minutes.
if you're watching and not just listening, I put a headband on today, and I'm feeling
It looks
good about it, especially
so
when.
cute.
Thank you. And you commented the second I popped up in your video, you were like, look at your headband. So it's giving me
Yeah,
life today. I'm feeling good about it.
good. I
Thanks.
love that journey for you
What are we
and me because
what are
I
we
get to
talking
stare at
about
you.
today, Christopher?
You know,
Christopher.
Sharna, I think today I think we should talk about college, but not like just college, but like our experiences of college.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think too, I would love to talk about that. And I think, man, that's gonna be I think it's gonna be like a few episodes, because college for you and I mean, sharing our stories today
Yeah.
and just kind of a generalization maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
but being in the industry we're in, I know that's a topic that we cover a lot
Yes,
with our students,
totally.
that we discuss often with parents.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'll be fun.
Great.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, should I start? Maybe I'll start.
I think you should start because I dominated our last episode. So you should start.
Make
Yes,
sure that I
Christopher,
get like,
what is your college story, Christopher? Tell us your
so my college
college
story goes
story.
back to before high school, actually, because
Before high school?
yeah. So like I went to a small private school for K through 8th, and then I went to a very large public high school in Bakersfield, California. I grew up in a little farming town of Shafter, California. And
Shafter? Where the
Shafter,
heck is Shafter?
it's about 20 miles northwest of nowhere. No, it's about it's a little north of Bakersfield.
Got it.
So, and if you heard a couple episodes ago, I went to Bakersfield High School, which was the largest high school in the Kern High School district. Um, so anyway, so I always knew, or I thought I always knew, I was going to go to Fresno Pacific University because that was my church school, and
Okay.
and so that's where I was going to go, and that's in Fresno, literally, because it's in the name, and I realized I said that after it's in the
Correct.
name. So,
Correct.
so anyway, so that was always my plan. Like I was like, I didn't know I was going to go to high school, but I always figured I would go to Fresno Pacific for college. And I figured I would major in music, which did, and that part ended up being true. Um, but we got to my senior year, or my junior year, I guess. No, because I realized, oh, side tangent involving college. Um, I,
Squirrel.
yes. I went to junior college, and the reason to Bakersfield College, and that was for a few reasons. The main reason was that my brother and I do duo piano work, and he's 3 years behind me in school. And so I wanted to make sure to stay local while he was finishing up high school. And then we always plan on going off to college together so we
You're
could
such a
continue
good
that
brother.
work. So, um, so during those 3 years that I crammed 2 years of college into three because I had 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But
As we do.
that's also when I really got into theater, actually.
Oh,
Because I did theater. I played for shows in high school. Oh my gosh, that's a story too. But I played for shows in high school, and then right out of high school, the conductor that did a lot of the shows at the school was also the music director for Bakersfield Music Theater and Stars. And so he had asked me to come play for some shows. So I played for so many shows over those 3 years and music directed, starting, gosh, within a year I was music directing shows. So that was really cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was really making use of my time during the JC years, the Bakersfield College years, and I loved it. Would have saved. I'll get to that. Would have saved so much money. Um, but it's so great. I enjoyed it a lot. It allowed me to work and really get in and establish myself that I was like, this is what I want to do. This is like the avenue of music I want to head towards, probably.
So is that where then you decided to change your like end college journey? Like
No,
while you were at the JC, is that when you realized you didn't want to go to Fresno?
no. So I was at my last year, whenever I would have had to apply for a transfer. I think it was the second year out of the three to go to Fresno Pacific. First of all, it took forever to go visit them for various reasons. Like nobody was responding to things and like blah blah blah. So we finally got to go and visit the college, which I'd been, but I wanted to go, meet the department and everything else. And I showed up, and pretty much the entire music department had fallen apart. Like
Oh,
people were like half the
it
department
wasn't
was
what you
retired.
were expecting. Yeah.
Nope. And it was like there was just almost no program left at that moment. Like they were in this big transition period. I'm sure it came back, and everything, but I was not about to be the transition years. I was not doing it. So,
Yeah, no one wants to be in the transition, the growing pains.
the growing pains. So I was like, well, shoot. Like my brother and I both went to, when again, we were planning on going there. And I just remember getting in the car, and uh, we then went to our favorite Chinese restaurant in the world. It's in Fresno, California. Um, and
I like how you have
sat
to say
there.
California. Like we don't know that Fresno's in. You just say like it's like when you have a friend and you say their first and last name all the time.
Yes,
Like my friend in high school, Chris Vano, he couldn't just be Chris. Like he is Chris Vano.
there you
There's
go.
no like oh just Chris. I've never called him that, and you have to say Fresno, California. I just had to point that out because it's a thing.
I
It's a thing.
I love that.
Like
Well, you know that Scott Barnhart, again, a double name, does that to me all the time. He
yeah,
like cannot call me
Christopher
Christopher.
Smith.
It's like Christopher Smith
Yep.
or Christopher W. Smith.
Is that
Like,
yeah, I don't it's a funny thing, and I think it's interesting how certain people you do that with. Now we're going on a
yeah,
full tangent, squirrel, but I found it interesting that you just kept saying Fresno, California, Fresno, California. Like I would just say Fresno, but you felt the necessity to add California because it's like in your brain, right? It's such a thing. I don't know. What
It
the
must
heck? I'm gonna start
be.
like keeping track of that now. That's so
Yes.
funny.
That's so funny. I would not even have noticed that. I might have noticed when I go back
Sorry.
to edit. No, that's great. Oh man. So I got to, so we went and I just remember going, Jonathan, I don't know what we're doing because we're not going here. We cannot go here. And now what? So then again, going a little rewind, somebody from, I think it was Dr. Lubinsky, who I ended up studying piano with, was like sending me his CDs and stuff from Point Loma down in San Diego,
So
California.
for all of you younger listeners, a CD is is an old thing. It's an
It
old
stands for
thing that
compact disc.
we used to It's like
It's
when my
round.
kids, when I'm like, oh man, that was my first tape. My kids are like, what's that
Uh,
cassette tape? I'm like, let me enlighten you. Let me educate you.
let me,
A CD, you could listen to music on it, friends. If you are probably 15 and under, you don't know what that is, a CD.
and
Or
along
maybe
with that,
12
like
and under.
that was CDs were like magical because cassette tapes were a disaster. They would come unraveled. You'd have to like
Correct.
you have to rewind them.
You get a pencil in there. You get
Yes,
the pencil in there and trying to put it
that's
back
right.
together.
That's right. Those are the
Dude,
days.
I'm so glad I grew up with the cassette tape, man. And you like sit right by the stereo waiting for your song to come on the radio so
Yeah.
you can record it
Yep.
really quickly. And then you go
Yep.
back and it's all like jarbled. It's like, and then your part of your song would come through. Oh my gosh, the
Yes.
stuff we had to live through.
That's
I
right.
love it.
We had to walk up hill
So you have
both
we
ways
got a
in the
CD
snow.
from who's it? Dr. Lipinski?
Lubensky. Dr. Lubensky.
Lipinski's a skater, right? An ice
Yeah,
skater?
Tara.
Lipinski? Okay, my bad.
That's right.
My bad.
So, also along with that, my piano tuner of all people, who was a pastor at the local church, was a pastor of the Nazarene Church. I know.
Wait,
Welcome
hold
to
on.
small
I'm
towns.
sorry. This episode is just gonna be Christopher from Fresno, California. Like that's what I'm naming this. We're no longer talking about Sharna and college.
But I'm
Did
from
you just say-
Shafter.
Wait. My piano tuner, who's also my pastor from the
No.
Nazarene. Does he also mow lawns?
Not my
Does he also mow
pastor.
lawns? Oh,
Not my pastor.
does he
Just
moonlight as a chef? Is he like a local
Maybe.
chef?
maybe down at the Five and Dime.
I'm dead right now. Oh my gosh. My
Okay.
piano tuner, also the pastor, also my psychic, also my manicurist. What in the world? Oh my gosh. I love it. I mean, only in Fresno, California.
It's
Right?
Shafter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a person's name. Shafter is the city,
No.
the town.
Shafter is the city.
Oh my gosh. Okay. If you could just see Christopher right now, I think he's crying. He's laughing so hard. Sorry, I totally tangented you. I need to make it a verb because it's like when I do
Yes.
squirrel. But
Ugh.
I'm so sorry. Okay, your piano tuner. Carry on. Carry on. I have tears on my cheek.
Okay, so anyway, he was my piano tuner, and he knew about Point Loma. He went to Point Loma, I believe. He's like, you should go to Point Loma Nazarene down in San Diego. I was like, thank you. I'm going to Fresno Pacific. So,
Thank you.
right. So, fast forward back to sitting in the car in Fresno, California. And I was like, well, Jonathan, should we look at Point Loma? I guess. Let's do it. So it was a total God thing because we
I'm sorry,
called-
interjecting Sharna. Had you? I'm super curious, honestly. I'm
Yeah.
back to serious. Sure.
Yeah.
Had you never heard of Point Loma before? The
I
school?
mean, I just because he'd sent me stuff through the last few years, but I didn't know anything about
Okay.
it.
Because I grew up in San Diego,
Yeah.
so that school to me was like on a lot of people's radar as a really good school and as a really nice campus. Like I remember a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
people
a
being like, "Oh, Point Loma
beautiful
is so
campus.
beautiful. It's so beautiful." Yeah.
But I had never been, and I didn't actually know much about the campus. But anyway, so we called or emailed or called and made an appointment to take a tour and meet the department and everything. And it was like within a week after trying for weeks and weeks to go to Fresno to visit. It was like super fast. We drive onto campus. There's a guard shack that like is at the front of campus. As we drive on, we look to our right. There's a full-on banner that says, "Welcome, Christopher and Jonathan Smith, to
What?
thing." I was like, "What is happening?" Because it was like a special tour.
Wow.
I was like, "Okay."
Wait,
And
that's
so,
fancy.
yeah, but I like, as we drove onto campus, I just got this sense of peace about it. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm going. It was
Yeah.
like 1 minute after driving on campus. I hadn't even met anybody yet.
And we have so many students that do that. And I'm going to let you, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tangent you because
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that specific sentence that you just
Yeah.
said in terms of students that we've had and parents in particular too, that I've talked to over the years. Carry on, but we're going to circle back to that.
Yeah, great. I think we should. So anyway, so I meet the faculty, meet the department, and within, I believe it happened that same day, they offered us the maximum scholarship they could from the department to both of us.
I didn't know
And
you guys went to school together.
yes, yeah,
That's cool.
that was kind of our
That's
plan
fun.
because we really wanted to continue in our duo piano work. And so
Yeah.
we just really wanted to be at the same school and in the same department.
Which makes
He
sense.
also Jonathan's a genius. It's my brother. He like did a double major he did a Bachelor of Music in Piano Performance and a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. I was like, okay.
I'm sorry. My son should listen to this part. He's always like, "Why do I need math, Mom?" He's
Oh,
so good at math and he just does not enjoy it. He's just like,
that's
"When am
really
I going to
interesting.
need
Usually when people are good at
fractions?"
yeah. That's interesting because usually when people are good at
I mean,
things, they love them.
yeah, I think he'll grow to love it. I think he'll grow to love it. I think just right now he's got a little kid brain that wants to play sports and do his own thing, but I think when he realizes how cool it is and what it connects
Yeah.
to, I think he'll grow to like it.
Yeah. And then step
Is this a
two
good time for
of
me to talk about? Oh, no, keep going.
step two of my the rest of that college story is fast forward. We get accepted. We go. I transfer and find out that I'm stuck there for 4 years. I talked about this in the opening episode, I think.
Yes, you did.
4 years to finish 2 because I didn't have private piano lesson credits. I only took
And they
lessons
wouldn't
since I was
allow
like 5.
your like outside piano
Nope.
lessons count.
Nope.
That's annoying.
They wouldn't let me out of them. It was a little cuckoo nuts.
They wanted your money.
100%. That's why I said earlier, I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, it saves you money until you still have to go there for 4 years.
Yeah.
But as I also said, I'm like, if I didn't go there for 4 years, I would have never met Joy and never have the life I have now.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes into, I
Everything
realize that's
happens
a
for a
life
reason.
thing. Yep. I realize that's a life thing, but that is such a college journey thing also. Everything happens for a reason. I wasn't supposed to go to Fresno Pacific in Fresno, California, even though that's what my
Right.
plan had been since the beginning of time, practically.
Well, and I actually think when we talk to, we're going to have some people on in the next few episodes to talk about college and their journeys. And I feel
Yeah.
like the few people we've spoken about, Christopher, that we want to bring on,
Hmm.
I actually think all of them maybe 2 out of the 3 we've talked to have that exact story of they had this plan. It was a plan. And,
It was a great
and
plan.
mine's kind of similar, but these, but it's not, it's not, it's not where you go. I think it's the journey that you take while you're there, or the journey you take getting to that decision and really stepping back and thinking about what's important to you and keeping your options open. And like you said, you could have gone it would have been a very different life change for you had you stayed in Fresno, California. I know.
Yeah, I would have probably ended up in Fresno, which, I much prefer Orange County over Fresno. So
maybe you would have never met me, and then we wouldn't
that
have
would have been
our podcast or Charnopher.
The worst.
I know.
Anyway.
I want to circle back to your sentence though.
Yes.
I love how you said, I got on the campus and I was there for a minute and I felt this peace. I think I've spoken to so many, in particular, juniors and seniors over the years, at our school, outside of school, friends, students who come through my studio. They have an idea, and I'll use some. I want to go to UCLA. That is my school. That wasn't me, but I'm just using that as an example, right? They have this idea. They've built it up. They know what they want to do, and they've never been to UCLA, right? So they get there, and the environment of a school, I think, is more important than the programming. And I think that these especially now with all this information that you can get online and the rankings and who came out of that school and the industry you want to go into and who's there and the contacts and what you like the internships and yes, all of that is important. All of that's important. But if you get there and you're going to live there, like I think that students don't realize that. And I think that they have to get there and be like, yeah, oh no, okay, this is not for me. Or a place that maybe was like 4th or 5th down on their list, or they didn't even know about, like you at Point Loma, and you get there and then you're like, whoa. I mean, for me, I'm going to kind of cut my journey short, but I was down to 2 schools, USC and Chapman. And
USC.
To make
Trojan.
Yeah, right? Cliff's Notes version. I grew up in a theater dance world. We know that. Everyone probably thought I was going to study that. And my senior year of high school, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go in to TV news. And my mom was like, cool. I did my whole college app stuff by myself. I went out and got the scholarships by myself. Like I was very independent in that area.
Of course you did.
I applied to all the UCs. Wasn't really on my radar. I thought I wanted USC was what I thought I wanted. Got in, accepted. Got into Chapman, accepted.
Okay, no, I want to rewind. I want to take a moment to say congratulations at getting accepted to USC.
Well, thank you.
That's no easy feat. That's a very competitive school.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. And I honestly, that was like when I got accepted, I was like, yes, I was very proud of myself. I had been working so hard. I got a decent scholarship. And then I went to the campus and I was a cheerleader. I wanted that big school 17-year-old Charna wanted that. I went to college at 17 because where my birthday lands.
Right. I
went out there and I was not overwhelmed. That's not the right word. I just was like, nope. Like I wanted so badly to like it and to want it. I remember walking through the dorms and being like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is not like, I don't know why I had convinced myself that that's what I wanted.
I have a question for you.
And I remember being really upset about it. Yeah.
As you were experiencing that, because since I haven't experienced that exact thing, I mean, I sort of did, but it was different. Like when you had planned and you knew exactly what you wanted, and then you get there and it is exactly what you wanted, and then you realize you don't want it. How does that translate? Like, how do you process that? Like, what does that feel like?
Honestly, I had to take the drive home to be like in the moment. I didn't tell myself that that's what I was feeling. I remember feeling it, But I remember being like, no, this is my school. Like, I've worked hard to get
Okay.
into this school. I want to be here. It's got the #1 film school. This is what I want to do. And then I remember getting in the car and driving back and being like, you know what? I need to really stop and think about why I want to go there. And when I kind of like let my brain figure that out, it was because it was the #1 film school. And and it was the clout and the notoriety of
Yeah.
USC, right?
Which I mean is
So my
totally a
mom-
fair reason, because it's like anything
Yeah,
else. It's where you
100%.
make connections. It's how you
100%.
launch a career. Like everything
Totally.
is affected by that. That doesn't mean that's the only answer.
And at the end of the day,
but
right, totally. And at the end of the day, I could have been fine there. I could have been fine. I would have made it work. I would have met friends. I would have adapted, I think.
Mhm.
But my mom, and this is like how the universe works, she was like, hey, you just got another call. Because at that time, everything like email wasn't even a super big thing yet. They're like, you just got a call from Chapman. They have given you an additional scholarship. So I got a big scholarship from the choir at Chapman. And then they gave me a presidential scholarship for my grades. So I essentially had a full ride to Chapman for my undergrad. And that to me, coming from the family that I came from, we did not have a lot of money. I was going to be paying for college myself. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back and tour Chapman. Now, I had gone on a tour like a couple of years ago with friends and I hadn't really paid attention. So I went
fair.
back, and the exact same thing that you said, Christopher. The second I walked into the film school, which is not the new gorgeous, beautiful Dodge Film School. They built that the year after I graduated.
Of course they did.
It was like this old, like salt of the earth. Everyone is like working hard. It wasn't this fancy. And I don't know. There was something about it that I was like, these are my people. Now, Chapman is a private, expensive university. It's not like,
Yeah.
we're slumming or whatever, but there was something different about the people. And then when I met the head of the department for broadcast journalism, I really liked him. And the class size at Chapman, most of my classes were like 10.
I love that.
Like I had 10 people in most of my TV and film classes. And I knew that was going to be a huge difference. And you got to use equipment your freshman year, where at USC, you didn't get to use equipment and you couldn't, like, you kind of had to work your way up.
Right.
So a lot of factors. And gosh, now looking back, oh my gosh, USC probably would have been fine, but the choir program at Chapman, the people I met at Chapman, obviously being in Orange County made a huge difference for I live there now,
Right. Did I ever tell you that I went to Chapman before? I went there for a choir. Speaking of choir, I went there for an honor choir thing. That's so random, but I went there when I was
in high school or in college.
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah, they have their choir program at Chapman, their music program is very, very good.
Yeah, and it took place in, what's that main hall? Where we've done the
Memorial
shows.
Hall, where we
Memorial.
did Newsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I walked in when we did Newsies. I walked in and I was like, I've been here. I've been here before.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, this is where we did honor choir. Anyway, super tangent.
Yeah.
But
They have a really great choir program, and we did a lot of touring, and obviously that wasn't my major, but that was one of the cool things, is that I could still participate in choir and get a scholarship through choir, but not have music be my major, which I thought was really, really, really great. So yeah, I just think it's this especially now, Christopher, we see it, and a couple of our guests will talk to you about it. But for me and our age, I don't think the pressure was as crazy. I don't think there was so many different options. I mean, I applied to all the UCs and a couple of private schools. Some of these students now are applying to 30 schools. It's just crazy.
It's cuckoo bananas.
And the competition is gnarly. I know.
Yeah. Well, it's like what upsets me about it actually is the fact that you almost have to apply to that many because everything's so competitive. So you can make sure you have a place.
Yeah.
But with that, I am also, and you're going to hear me tout this all day long, every day, college, both two things. One, college is not required for everyone. It is not necessarily for
Correct.
everyone. And two, um, uh, a quote, I always call it junior college. I know they call them community college now, but like uh, a, a community college is a 100% an excellent and viable option if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
Save the money,
Well,
get
and
those GEs
speaking
out
of
of the
community
way.
college, there are professors who teach a class at a community college and then the next day go to a private university and teach the same class.
That's right.
Like, I think and parents get hung up on that a lot. And parents, if you're listening, calm the heck down is what I want to tell parents, because what Christopher just said, it's so important. These kids get this idea, like, I have to go to a 4-year university, or I have to get into this kind of university. And at the end of the day, you don't really. Maybe you do. Maybe you find your way there. Maybe it's a different journey. But I think you're absolutely right. Financially your finances are such a huge part of it that I think students and parents have to take into consideration. And some of these junior colleges and community colleges have excellent programs. And if you have a student who is self-disciplined enough to, and I get wanting the college experience. Believe me, I loved my college on campus dorm. I loved that experience. And I think that is a huge part of college. I really do.
Yeah.
But again, it's not the answer for everyone. And kids change their dang mind. Like me, and again, we're going to get to the end of our episode here, but I'm not a TV news reporter. And that's what I went to school for, wanted to be. And I love telling that story to my students. They're like, wait, what? How come you're in education? How did you land here? I never wanted to be a teacher. I didn't want to touch education with a 10-foot pole. That was not my thing. I was going to be a TV news reporter. And I was really good at it. I interned. I was like all about it. And then you fall into these paths. And for me, it was a combination of my personal life. Like, I met my now husband when I was sending out all of my reels to news stations. And, these markets that were accepting me, I had to move to Idaho or Kansas or Kentucky or these places. And I just made the decision of like, I just met this person that I do really think I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. Do I want to move away? And then it's like, you and I, Christopher and I are faith-based humans. And I feel like it was such a God thing for me, where it was like all of these things being put in place, like, oh, and now you're doing this show with a friend who needs a substitute, and this person you meet, and now they want you to teach this. And I then had this second realization moment of like, I've been put in this position because it's where I'm supposed to be.
That's right.
I didn't just randomly get asked to come jump in at OSHA because. And then teaching broadcast journalism is so much more fun than doing it. Like,
oh, I love that.
It's the best. Like, I get to see my students do the things that I did for fun and for learning purposes. You're not trying to make money. You're not trying to move ahead in that industry. You're not trying to go up to the next market. Like, it's fun. And that's when I went back and got my master's in education, because I was like, this is far more rewarding for me than being on any TV camera,
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway,
well,
that's Charna in a nutshell.
On a similar note, no, it's not. Let's be honest. It's like a facet of Charna in a nutshell. But I also was absolutely not planning on going into education at all, like at all. I was like, had all these different avenues I was thinking about that I might do. And there's just so many reasons that I took the path I took. Some personal, some professional, but also just some things. It was opportunities that I had, and then life sort of led that way. And I swore, I always tell people, I was like, before I came to OSHA, I was like, yeah, I'm never going to teach in a high school again, ever. Ever, ever, ever. I was done. I was literally done. I had an experience where I was like, nope, not doing it. And then about a year later is when I met Jeff Paul, and fast forward or go back and listen to episode 1. I'm now been at OSHA for like 7 years.
And Christopher,
I
interrupt you so well, but I think here's another component that all of our teacher, and I'm going to say teachers in general, but I am much more familiar with artistic teachers and have worked in that industry for almost 20 years. And recently have hired teachers, have mentored teachers, have been in charge of teachers. There is such a special human who can, and I say this with art in particular, but performance art even more so, that can be humbled enough in their own artistic world to share and teach and be passionate with students. I think it is a very magical unicorn type of person. And I'll toot my own horn for a minute. I feel like I was
going to say, I think you just called us
that.
magical unicorms. I think we called magic.
But it's so funny, unicorns. Christopher, because the other day I went into a classroom and I was observing another teacher and I was watching, and I walked in and I just sat in the back, and they took a little break and a bunch of the students came over and we were talking and we were, chatting, and cut to this week, that teacher was in my office and we were discussing stuff. And they said, you have such a way with your students. And I was like, what? What are you even talking about? Like, you've never seen me teach. He's like, I didn't need to see you teach. Like, you walk into that room and the rapport you have and the way they engage, the way it's this weird balance. And I see it with you. I told you the other day at rehearsal when I walked in and I was like, I love watching you. And I think that sometimes
Thank you. Continue
people,
with what specifically? No.
But it's a thing you can't teach. And I think I'm so grateful that both of us on our journey, and many of the teachers that we work with as well, probably realized that, whereas some people don't, and they want to continue and not, I want to use the word selfishly, because obviously performance art, it's a bit of a selfish, it's about you, it's indulgent. And I think there's time and place for that. And I think it's super important, but I think there's something to be said about stepping back and realizing that you have a gift to pass on. And I think that, I get all emotional about it. I think that that's what's really important, is people finding that moment of like, this isn't about me. It's about what I have to offer to whoever, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's important. And I think you do a great job.
I agree. Well, thank you. Thank you. Oh gosh. Well, hopefully everybody, that was, you get a little insight into our backgrounds of our college journeys, and especially our current students. If you're listening, feel free to reach out to us to chat about things, or just take our nuggets.
Please do. I love answering questions about college stuff. I think students are often intrigued to hear some stories when they don't know how you got to where you are. Yeah. So reach out for sure.
Yeah. All right, Charna. I guess that's it for this one. Yeah.
Close out.
Okay. All right, everybody. Follow us on Instagram, Charnopher Official. Please come follow us. We want you to hang out so you can see all the fun things we do on there. And head over to YouTube and like and subscribe for our podcast there. And if you're just listening, you can get us pretty much anywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the things. But head over to uncommonpod.com.
On our website.
Yep. Head over to uncommonpod.com and everything's there that you need. Cool.
All right. We'll talk to you next time.
Toodles.
Bye.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers, because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.